So today is Heron's. This isn't a demo painting as such, this is just me painting and recording and seeing how it goes. So we have this lovely photo of a heron. I'll put the credit in the comments if it ever makes it out to the public. What do I like about this photo? The shape of the heron is always the thing that attracts me. The posture, the shape of it. Look at these beautiful angles in the neck and the head. Beautiful colour on the feathers. Lovely curved shape of the body. Nice interest on the feet. I'm thinking that the background, very dark. I'm not going to put in the background as is. There will be some background because we have the light coming across here, and I want this back shape to be visible on the painting, but I'm not going to go dark like this. So let's have a bit of drawing, and then we'll think about colour. Okay, drawing. Let's roughly place him on the paper. So the head's going to be up here, comes down, and body. Okay, so I'm roughly going to put curves of the head in. There's the little head feathers that come out. Quite a sharp angle in there. And I'm looking at the negative shapes around here to draw this neck piece. Comes across straight. Curve. Now, this neck is fairly wide here. Let's come up here and do this piece. My head probably needs to go further up. This comes down to here. Darker pieces in here. Okay, and the legs come out from here. Needs to come out slightly more. I'm just going to accentuate these knee joints a bit. I don't know if they actually are knee joints. I suppose they're knee joints. This one's slightly further up. Some feathers coming through there. This foot. Webbing in there. Easel's getting in the way. And then this one. One here. That's actually sitting on a rock. Make up a bit of this rock. Okay. Now this head. Just going to erase that top bit. I think he needs to go slightly. So there's a bit more room up here. This comes out pretty straight. After drawing these for a while, you realise how many straight lines. Slightly down. So many straight lines there are on these birds. Comes up and round. I wasn't too far off after that. Okay, so here. Great. Now, I overemphasised that beak. I don't know. I kind of like that actually, so I'm gonna keep that there. And the eye comes in here. I'll put that in lightly as that dark piece comes there. And there's this dark blue piece on the head. Just round the eye. My pencil's a bit stubby. I'm not going to draw in the head bit. Yep. Okay, just going to erase a couple of these lines around the beak. I have a fluffy eraser. And just slight. Very slight downward curve on that beak. Okay, well, there you go. That wasn't too hard. Painting. Right. Where do we start? Now, let's think. Let's just think through this. Now, we have some very light pieces here on the back of the head. We have these sort of very long dagger-like feathers, which we're going to have to do with negative painting. If it all goes terribly wrong, I'll get some white paint out. Let's start by putting a light wash with this kind of very light colour in there on, and I think it's pretty similar to what's on the neck. I'm just going to use my book colour isolator here. That's really quite light. That's fairly dark on there, darker than you think, but it gets lighter up there. So let's do a wash over this, and then layer in the darks on top of that. Right, now, quick bit of scrap. That colour looks grey, but it's a very blue grey. This could be partly to do with the photo, but we're going to push it blue. So let's do that. It's kind of purpley blue too. So I'm going to start with some ultramarine and a little bit of quinacridone rose. It's a pinkish red. Alizarin crimson would do. That's far too purple for that. I'm going to actually put in a little, I want to grey this down a bit, but I'm going to put in a bit of burnt sienna, which will push it even more red. But it will grey it. That's too purple, isn't it? A bit more blue. No, I'm going to put in a bit more burnt sienna. A little bit more water, just the tip of my brush in the water, just to make it slightly. Okay, I think I'm going to add in some more water to soften edges, so I think that will be, fingers crossed. Okay, let me just put this down where I can reach it. Right. Okay, let's start here. I'm just going to put some colour on. There's that shadow piece around there. And almost immediately I'm going to go in, wash my brush out and soften all of these edges. Just make it a bit splotchy. I can go through this because it's dark. I can probably go through this because it's dark. I lost that bit. I think that'll be okay. Right. There's a bit of colour up here. Now on the photo this looks very white, but I'm going to give it a bit of colour. Soften this. Come down. Everything's soft at this point. A bit of splashing, that's fine. We can cope with a bit of splashing. Yes. A little bit more colour in here. I'm just waiting until this is dried a bit, just to dot in just a little bit of dark around here. It looks very dark on the camera, but it's not that dark in real life. Put a bit more on. Just where I can see slight changes in value. While I'm here, I'm going to put in a little bit of quinacridone rose, a little bit of cat orange, just little dots here and there. There are little bits of colour in here. Just want to give it a bit of interest. Just here and there I can see things. I can invent some if I want. Right. Actually, and these legs have a nice sort of peachy sheen to them. So I'm just going to put a light wash of that in there. And just going to pull these out, soften these edges a bit. I've found you can get really quite loose with these initial stages. It'll end up looking very, very light. That's kind of purpley down there. Just a little bit of colour on these legs. And feet. Just looking purely at the patterns of light and dark on here, and I'm purposefully going through the feet. Because if you paint them distinct, they look as though they're pasted on and they don't join together with the rest of the picture. Right, okay. Right, I'm kind of okay so far. I'm going to leave the head until later on. I think I might just pause and let this dry because I want to see how light this is before we go in with the next layer. So I'm just going to pause him for a few minutes. Okay, we're back and we're dry, which is good. Some nice granulation going on there. I've lost this white piece in here, which is annoying. I may just try lifting a little bit of the colour there. Now it's dry. I do want this to show. Alright, I'm just putting water on here. Let it soak in a little bit. Squinting at it. It's darker than the surround, but I think that'll be fine. Right, now, let's put some darks on this body. Now the photo is very blue, but I kind of like herons when they're slightly purpley. So let's just push it slightly to the purple. So I've got my ultramarine, a little bit of quinacridone rose, not too much. And I'm going to grey that down slightly with a very small amount of black, because this isn't a very high chroma in here. Okay, now the thing I've got to keep is this line where it goes from light to dark, so I've got to remember that. So let's put in this bottom piece. White down here, which I mustn't forget. I'm trying just to touch the paper once. Right, and while that is still wet, clean my brush, damp brush, soften these edges. This is drying very fast. I'm wondering whether just to keep that nice crisp edge. Let's try. Putting in some of these dagger-shaped feathers. I paint herons a fair amount, but they never get easier. So, and I do think I do want to soften just up the top. Right, that looks kind of nice, and there's actually some nice blossoms coming in there, which I don't mind. Just painting. Pardon me. Painting over here. Just putting in some light marks. Starting to put in these fluffy dagger feathers, which aren't showing up hugely at the moment, but that's fine. pieces around. Oh, pardon me. Got a tickle in my throat. Now, ordinarily, I wouldn't like these blossoms, but in this case, I think I'm good with them. Alright. And now I think I'm going to go in with some real darks on that body. We may come back and put in just some light marks where the feathers are. Just these light marks here where the feathers are, but we may not need it. Right, so darks. This is a very dark blue. So I'm going to use ultramarine and a little bit of lamp black. I bet that's still quite wet up there. Some darks in here. Let's try these. I'm now using a pointy synthetic brush, which doesn't hold as much water, but has a lovely point that you can make nice calligraphic marks with. I'm waiting to see whether this is dry up here. I'm going to risk it. Okay, I shouldn't have risked it. Typical, when you want it to dry, it just sits there, and when you don't, it dries immediately. Well, I'm going to have to wait. So what can I do whilst I'm here? I don't want to have a go with the feet and the rocks quite yet. Maybe I'll put it on the head, dark piece. Now this isn't uniformly dark up here, so I'm just going to place some colour where it's really, really dark. And even so, we might have to come back in and darken it up again. And soften. Too much water on that brush, just so it bleeds out. I'm not going to do the head feathers just yet. Okay. Right. Okay. That dark, I think, bled out too much. Just take some off. Let's have a go at the beak whilst we're up here. I'm going to leave the eye, but we're going to put it in again just where it's as darkest bits that you can see. Then around there, just leading from the eye. A little bit down here. And then my damp brush just to smooth that colour out so it fades nicely in between. Pull that towards the end of the beak. I've lost a bit there. It's okay. Just lift a bit out. That's a bit better. And very slight softening what's going on in here. Bit of softening over here. Okay, now the end of this beak. I'm going to use mostly cadmium orange. I'm going to make it, I think, slightly brighter. So this is pure cadmium orange that's going on now. Always down here. Just a tickle of quinacridone rose. Also back here, this actually goes back into grey. And then right at the end of the beak, it's kind of white, but there's a bit of yellow over here. Need some attention that later, but not quite yet. Right, let's go back and put some darks in. Keeping the paint fairly stiff on the palette. That's too stiff though. Just dip the tip of the brush in the water. Just loosen it up a little. Right, now this blue here comes round and it shapes that wing. A little bit over here. And it's straight on this left hand side. Maybe just a little couple of shapes for the I've gone the wrong way. I've gone over my leg piece, right? Well, that's how it is. And then just soften parts of this. And there's a real softening out here. Just a light softening here. Too much. And then on the sides of these. This bit down here, I'm going to make this a feature, I think. Okay, that looks kind of nice. I kind of like that. And while I'm here, I've got a bit more paint left. No, I don't. I'm here. Gonna put a dark blue, just a little bit of quinacridone rose down the bottom of this. These feathers down here. I'm using the brush to make these feather marks. I'm hoping that's not going to be too dark. I'm going to go in and soften that immediately. just to soften up that bottom piece. Now, this tail bit is also, there's a dark area in here. Okay, yeah. I think we're okay with that. There's a little more up here, I think. It's actually slightly bluer, but to get some contrast into this, I'm going to keep it fairly dark. Right, now I'm going to stand back and have a look at him. It's at that stage where I'm going, Let's do some legs. Now, the legs look fairly dark, but I don't want them to be the main event of the painting. So I'm going to put some colour on again and smooth out so it looks fairly dark there. Drag this out. Smooth. It's actually quite white up there. Some light colour on that. Now down here, a bit more colour. I want them to look like legs, but I don't want them to look like we made a collage out of bits of paper and just stuck them on. Okay, let's put some colour on these feet. Now, I'm gonna put pretty much an even wash over these feet, apart from there's certain bits where the light is catching the tops of the talons. Just want to leave that. Oh, I think I missed. Did I miss it? I missed one here. Which is out. Oh, okay, I should put him in. And back here. I know I haven't done the rest of this leg, but we're in the feet section, so we'll put this in. A little bit of colour in these rocks. And this actually, I'm just going by shape here. I'm not really sure how this is reading. This could be terrible. There's some more colour in those rocks over there, but let's leave that for now. Alright, let's just do some smoothing. See, this has dried almost immediately. Yeah. is actually dark in there. Just having a look. I don't want too much contrast. Just want to leave those tops of those feet light. Right, let's go in. Let's do this other leg whilst we're here. The legs do actually have some colour in them. I may put that in a little bit afterwards, kind of dark around the knees. I'm just going to do something. Just want to soften through these legs. I'm going to pull colour out. Yeah, okay. I kind of like that. I think we do want some colour in those, a bit more colour in those legs, but I'm happy right now. Okay. What next? I think this head needs some attention. I am going to go in and do the eye. And let's put in the pupil. Now there isn't a highlight on this eye. I may leave just a little. My head's not getting in the way. Just a little sparkle, which always helps bringing something to life. Okay, and it's dark blue around the edges. So put a light joins there. I don't want him to look too cross. And soften. Soften over the top too. Alright. That's not too bad. Let's put in these head feathers. It's do or die with the head feathers, because if they go on wrong, that's it, you have one chance. Okay. So, it's kind of awkward because I'm going the wrong direction. I'll put in another one if I have to. Yep, that'll do. That'll do, pig. Tempted to fiddle with those a bit, but I'm not going to. Let's darken up this head area. Oops. Oh, I'm holding it. And it looks as though it's got some kind of hat on, which is not the case. That's better. Okay, now I'm just going to darken up some parts of this beak area, just to give it a little more definition. It's actually kind of dark there. I think I need a bit more around the eye. My softening took the whole thing away, which I don't want to do. Yeah, that's better. It's coming together a bit better now. This one. softening, just to take the starkness out of that straight line. Okay. Now it's actually bluer down to the end. And I'm taking as much water off as I can. Is there a light line in here? No, that's not going to work. Just a little bit of detail under this beak. Okay, that's that. Yeah, I kind of like that. Alright, now I'm tempted to put in a little bit of background. I want some colour in the background because I want these light bits to show up, but I don't want it to be ridiculously dark. So I'm going to mix up a kind of neutralish grey, but it will be made with cadmium orange and cerulean blue. I may push it more orange. I know there's nothing orange really in the background, but that might be too much orange. Let me take that out. And some cerulean blue. I don't want it to go green. Green. I'm just going to add in a little bit of black. Right, and now some water. Hoping this will. I wonder if this will be too much. Let's try it. Let's see. I'm assuming this is going to be dry. And I'm kind of pulling it away from the edge. I'm mostly putting colour where I want the whites to show up. Just pull that through the end of the beak. So. Right, and I'm going to go in with a lot of water and then soften up all these brush strokes up here. Just take some of that out. Okay, and now the back. Again, I'm putting my brush against this bit that I want to be brought out and then pulling it away perpendicularly. Oops. Try not to put my hand. Right. I'll put you in here. And again, brush for the water. I'm being careful with. This is why I should not have put the head feathers in, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I might be able to go through it once without smooshing. Here we go. I don't know if that's working or not. I'm a bit annoyed with this bit up here, which I didn't smooth. And now I'm going to put some colour down here. Forget about this middle bit. I think I'm just going to forget about that bit. Thinking it should probably have some more colour up here. I'm kind of diagonally putting the colour, and then maybe a bit just from a design point of view. Some diagonals always good. Right, let's pick up some drops. The brushiness might be fine. Some odd bits of white paper I've forgotten about. It's gonna. Now, let's stand back and see. Oh, I don't know. I think I quite like it. I think I kind of like it. It's going to dye, it's going to dry back very pale, that. So, alright, now, while that is drying, let's think of the other bits we want to put in. A lot of it's done. We're pretty close, I think. It's got some nice brushiness to it, some nice blossoms, but it doesn't mean it's lost the form. I'm kind of liking that. It's got this lovely change between the light side and the dark side. Right, now, at this point we need to be careful not to do too much to it. We need to work out what the areas are that need just a little bit more definition. Just work on those. I'm just thinking these rocks need a bit less definition. So, what do we think? So I'm thinking this neck area needs something, but I'm kind of wary. It's going to need very little indeed, and we need to get the colour right. So a little bit of blue, just a little bit of black to darken it down. Is this dry? Not really. Just need to put in some small dark lines to indicate these long feathers. I don't quite know how to do this. How's that working? And I think, I don't know, but I think this will definitely need less rather than more. That's really working, is it? Let's try a few more up here. I'm only putting the very dark ones in at the moment. I may try to see if I can extend them to... Just want this pale. I don't know, that's maybe okay. I think we have some paler ones up here, just to show that it's got a little bit of just shows the... I don't know what I'm concentrating so hard I can't actually articulate what I'm doing. Just the little shadows in between those fluffy little feathers, or pointy little feathers. I think as they come out we can go a little darker. As they extend past the body. But this is very subtle. And it could go too far too easily. Yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Oh. I need a few more darks up on this bit, but I'm not going to risk that right just yet. I know these seem white on the photo, but our background is white, so we can risk making them darker as they come out. And then just use the dark bits for the shadows as they go up into the neck. This is tricky stuff, and I'm thinking I might be almost at the point of overdoing it, in which case I can always go back in and do a bit more. Let's have a look. Okay, I think I'm going to have to leave that there. I think I did overdo it slightly. Just slightly. I'm going to let it dry and see whether it... Let's just pull that through. I just want to make them a little less distinct. Yeah. All right. Now, how are the little touches? And there's one thing I'm looking at that I think I do want to change. Just this. I'm wondering whether to put some feather shapes on this side of the. I presume that's a wing, isn't it? Yeah. Let's just put in a few dark pieces up here. I'm just dotting bits of colour on right now. And we'll go back in with another brush and smooth out those lines. And they're harder on the left hand side than they are on the right, so I'm just A little bit of darkness there. That might be a candidate just for a little bit of gouache later on. Okay, now let's finish off the feet and the rocks. I don't think they need very much. I think they just need a little bit of darkening and maybe a little bit of colour in those rocks just to tie them in. So I'm going to use a bit of ultramarine and burnt sienna. I'm going to take, even though I'm using my pointy synthetic, I'm just going to take a little bit more of the water out and need to work out where to put these very dark pieces. Again, smooth out the sides that you don't want a hard edge for. And it's really quite tricky to see what's going on here. It's dark in here. And it's dark. And I think I'm probably gonna darken up all of that. Make that white piece slightly thinner. Just the side of this leg. Yeah, I might just put a little bit more gouache. I've just lost that small piece that shows it's a talon coming out. Right, a bit of colour. I think I'm going to use a bit of orange in here, just to give it a bit of interest. Not the best bird feet I've ever done, I have to say. Do I need to... Right, I need to stand back to see what I need to do with that. Yeah, I don't know whether I like this or not anymore. Well, let's carry on. And let's try putting in some feather shapes on that. Now, it's gonna have to be purpley blue, but quite a watery purpley blue. I'm just going to try putting in feather shapes. I do quite like this blossom, but let's try them down here first. particularly accurate here, so just looking at where the rough lights and darks are. And it's a very, very slight value change. Hard to know if it's working or not. Right, stand back. That could be too stark. It's twicky. This is twicky. I'm just going to smoosh out some of those. I think there's just slightly too many. These ones actually work better. I'm also just going to put in a few up here. Just a few. I can't tell if we're doing okay with that. This is kind of okay down here. Oh. No, it's too wet to do anything right now. Yeah, okay. I think we're almost there. One thing I do want to do whilst we're here is put the yellow of that eye in. Should be nice and dry. Just a little yellow in the eye. A bit too much. Dab that out. Dab, dab, dab. Yep. And I think I'm gonna be very careful, but just darken up this neck. I have to be careful here because it really can't go too dark. I do want it to show a bit more form. At this point, you're at, right, you could ruin it with a single stroke. Which is always exciting. Soften that lightly around there. I'm wondering whether that background should be just a smidge darker. I think it probably should be. It looks quite chromatic on the screen, but in front of me it's looking a bit peely-wally. Let's just get some cerulean out. There's one thing I do want to do. This white piece down here. Just want to put a bit of blue on that. Alright. So So it's cerulean now. I'm not going to use cadmium orange, I'm going to use a bit of burnt umber, which will grey it a little. Softening edges. There's that little bit in there. Hopefully that paint won't lift. No, it didn't. Good, good, good. Yeah, okay, I think a little bit more of that cerulean, a little bit of burnt umber, just to take a punch out of it. I'm going to put this down, it's too much. No, I've stopped talking, sorry. I've stopped talking because I'm experimenting and I don't know if this is going to work. And so I'm just kind of thinking about it as I go. It's looking very dark on the screen. I'm going to lose those feathers. Right, okay. I'm going to leave that to dry and then come back and see what we have. Oh, pause. Okay, so we're back. Background has dried. I've just taken 20 minutes out. I'll come back. And I think he's almost done. Just gonna do a few little things, very, very small things. Now, just a couple of extra darks, I think I will put in, just in certain places. I'm just looking here, there's just a very small piece back here. It needs a bit of dark, it's not that dark. Just let's do dark. Just some small areas. These feet, I think I'm okay with. I'm just going to a little bit, just a slight bit of shadow on the tops of those feet. I know I said I wanted to keep them, but also sometimes it's just a bit too much. And just these little bits of white paper that have been left out, just to take the starkness of the paper off. I think the beak's okay, I think the head's fine. I think these feathers actually worked okay in the end. I'm worried about this. I don't really like it that it's just kind of lolloping in mid-air. I'm thinking about putting some broad brush strokes just to suggest a bit of foreground. This is another thing that might be a big mistake, but right, let's use some of this to make up kind of a grey. Oops, let's put some red in. Kind of purple. Bit more bouncy now. Try not to get my brush in the red. Right, I'm just gonna start and very broad brush strokes. Just, this isn't really putting anything in that looks real. This is more just the design of it. Just to give it a bit of tethering to the ground. Yeah, okay. I think that's pretty much all it needs. As that dries, I may just put in a bit more dark to soften these edge bits. I don't want there to be too much interest at the edges of this, because this isn't the subject. Just darken in here slightly just to get rid of those edges. Oh. Just darkening up the important bits here. Okay, right, I think I have to leave it there because, yeah. Okay, nice. And one final thing. I've got some opaque white. I just want to put a few little dabs. Not many at all, actually. Just to put back some of the highlights that got missed. And I do want to see if I can put some white on these neck feathers that doesn't look too jarring. Maybe. Oh. Okay, yeah. And a little bit of white just on the back feathers. Just a little bit of interest into the background. It's really quite tricky to paint in. Hopefully still makes it look like it came out fairly dark. Okay, yeah, I know I'm good there. And maybe just a couple of strokes. Just to put some lights around these feathers. Maybe just a couple poking into the darks. Just to show that the feathers are coming in here. Yeah, I think that's okay. And anything else? There's one, this little bit here. I don't know if you can see that. I just need a little bit of shadow under there just to take that small bit of white paper out. Okay, I did say I'd maybe put a couple of sparkles on these feet. And in here. There's a little sparkle up there. A little sparkle in. Whoops. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I think I'm done. I'm done. I think I'm pleased with him. I won't know until tomorrow morning. Or even after. Oh, do I dare put any more? Okay, right, one more thing. One more thing. Yeah, there's a running joke amongst watercolorists that every painting is ruined by someone saying one more thing. And that is true. I'm trying not to ruin it. I don't actually need to do this. These little pointy feathers did come out fairly well. So why are you doing it then? I don't know. Alright, okay, leave it. Oh no, leave it. Okay, oh there he is, Heron, on a rock. I kind of like him. I think he's not too bad at all. Okay. Well, thank you for watching, if you're watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was useful. Okay, bye-bye.